French footballer Karim Benzema has been arrested in connection with a sex tape blackmail plot involving another player.
The world of football is never short of controversial headlines. From match-fixing scandals to managerial feuds and even political divides, football never fails to fill the papers. But amid all the craziness the sport has to offer, in 2015, the football community saw one of its most bizarre controversies: Karim Benzema's blackmail scandal. Here's the story of how one of the game's biggest stars became the subject of a high-profile police investigation. Karim Benzema. Anyone with an interest in football knows this name. One of the biggest prodigies France has ever produced. A Real Madrid legend with over 300 goals for the club, a 5-time Champions League winner, and the winner of the 2022 Ballon d'Or. Very few in history command the respect and legacy of Benzema. But in the Frenchman's illustrious trophy cabinet, there is one obvious trophy missing, and that is the FIFA World Cup. In 2018, France won the World Cup in Russia with Karim Benzema absent from the squad, as had been the case for 3 years at the time. The striker had just won his 4th Champions League with Real Madrid and was one of the best strikers in the world. But French manager Didier Deschamps decided to rely on Olivier Giroud to lead the line because Benzema was banned from the French team. Benzema would remain absent from the squad until 2021, bringing his total absence from the team to over 6 years. But how is it that such a talented player, dubbed one of the game's best ever strikers, was shunned by his country for so long? Benzema's time in the international wilderness dates back to November 2015, when he was arrested and questioned by French police over his alleged involvement in the blackmail of international teammate Mathieu Valbuena. Following his arrest and the launch of an investigation by French police, both Valbuena and Benzema were given a temporary suspension from the French team until the situation was cleared up and both their names were out of the headlines. But little did anyone know that this would be the start of a 6-year-long exile for the Real Madrid striker. According to Valbuena, the entire episode began in June 2015 when he received an anonymous phone call from a stranger informing him of a sex tape involving him and his wife and threatening to release the tape if he didn't pay up. Valbuena quickly reported the matter to the police and an undercover investigation was launched to apprehend the blackmailers. At the time, little was known about the blackmailers or if they even had the tape in question. But over the coming weeks, the blackmailers would persist with their threats, even trying to get Valbuena to cooperate by turning his close friends into persuaders. One such close friend was Valbuena's former teammate, Djibril Cissé. Cissé was the first high-profile arrest connected with the case, and in many ways his arrest turned the case from an undercover operation to worldwide news. Cissé immediately pleaded his innocence to law officials and live on French national TV, saying he was 1000% innocent and was just trying to help his friend through a tough situation. With no case against him and Valbuena publicly supporting his innocence, Cissé was released shortly after, and then began the Karim Benzema part of the story. It is alleged that in October 2015, ahead of matches against Armenia and Denmark, Benzema met with Valbuena at France's Clairefontaine training ground, urging him to negotiate with his blackmailers. Benzema was arrested on suspicion of aiding the blackmail in November 2015. According to Valbuena in a later interview, Benzema was not aggressive in his manner of talking and didn't urge me to pay any amount of money, but was insistent that I meet someone. The person in question would be Benzema's childhood friend, Karim Zenati. Following Benzema's arrest, French media outlet L'Equipe released a transcript of a conversation between Benzema and Zenati, where the pair discussed the video and Benzema's conversation with Valbuena. During the conversation, Benzema admits to having told Valbuena, "If you want the video destroyed, come and see my friend in Lyon." Like Benzema, Zenati was also arrested in November 2015 but denied all charges. He was allegedly the connection between the blackmailers and Benzema, who they needed to persuade Valbuena after their plans to use Cissé fell through. According to prosecutors, Cissé merely advised Valbuena to be careful while dealing with the blackmailers, but Benzema's insistence on facilitating a negotiation raised enough suspicion that he was involved in getting a cut from the payment, which was around $150,000. Benzema's defense was that he was simply playing a similar role to Cissé by helping a friend in a tough situation, and had no idea about the nature of the tape or the money being demanded. In fairness to Karim, the sum being demanded by the blackmailers was around half of his weekly salary at Real Madrid. So was he actually a part of the blackmail or just a friend, put in an uncomfortable position, with no idea of what was truly going on. Benzema was charged for his involvement in the blackmail and released on judicial supervision shortly after his arrest, with permission to continue his duties at Real Madrid while awaiting a hearing. The craziness was just beginning, however. Court hearings against Benzema, Zenati, and 3 other accomplices would paint the whole picture of the crazy saga. In July 2014, Valbuena asked Axel Angot, a computer expert, to recover some data from his phone, a procedure which involved Angot transferring Valbuena's personal data into his own computer. And in the process, Angot stumbled across the video of Valbuena engaged in sexual activities with his partner. A few months later, Angot shared the video with his friend, Mustafa Zouaoui, a criminal from the heart of Marseille who investigators would later identify as the mastermind behind the blackmail. Zouaoui and Angot were in crippling debt after losing a collection of luxury watches belonging to former footballer Nicolas Marin. Angot would confess during the trial that the two of them saw Valbuena's sex tape as a means of clearing that debt and getting back on their feet. And with Euro 2016 just around the corner, they were convinced Valbuena would willingly surrender the money they needed. But as we already know, this plan didn't go so well. Zouaoui and Angot would turn to Cisse first, who they had known since his days as a Marseille player. Cisse warned Valbuena of the tape but did little to encourage the blackmail process. They turned to a man named Younes Hawass, another criminal who operated in central Marseille. On June 3, 2015, Hawass placed an anonymous call to Valbuena, threatening him to comply with the blackmail terms or the video would be released to the public, leading to Valbuena contacting the police. It was around this time that Zouaoui contacted Benzema and Zenati, ambushing them in a Madrid restaurant and giving them the details of the ordeal. According to prosecutors, this marked the beginning of Benzema's involvement in the case. And there's more. You see, when Valbuena first reported the case to the police in June 2015, the French authorities used an undercover operative named Lucas to investigate the case. Following Benzema's discussion with Valbuena urging him to meet up with Zenati, Lucas began tracking Benzema's calls, messages, and movements by tapping into his phone. Benzema's tone while discussing with Zenati was light-hearted and showed no concern for Valbuena's well-being, even saying to Zenati, "I don't think he's taking us seriously," in relation to Valbuena's reluctance to cooperate with his blackmailers. This was the conversation released by L'Equipe to the general public. During the court hearings, it was decided by French football president Noël Negreira and manager Didier Deschamps that Benzema and Valbuena would be left out of the French squad for the upcoming Euros tournament, which was hosted in France. Meanwhile, the 5 suspects and their lawyers all fell on the defense that they had no point tried to coerce Valbuena and simply wanted to have a discussion with him. They also cited the role of Lucas, accusing him of reviving the blackmail attempts by making contact with the suspects at a time when they had all moved on from it. Upon appeal, France's Court of Cassation, police inquiry into the case was stopped in July 2017, citing concerns over the actions of Lucas. However, in November 2018, the Court of Appeal in Paris overruled that decision, paving the way for the case to go to full trial. Benzema faced a charge of complicity in attempted blackmail, but chose to skip court proceedings as they often fell around important games for Real Madrid. But the other 4 suspects were present to give their accounts of events, often blaming each other for the other's actions and proclaiming their innocence. Benzema, according to his lawyers, had a clear motive, which was to help his friend in a time of need. As the trial approached its end, and with Benzema on fire for Real Madrid, the striker's form became too good to ignore, even for the typically hard-headed Didier Deschamps. Karim was recalled to the French squad for the Euro 2020 tournament, ending his 6-year absence from the Les Bleus squad. His re-emergence was widely welcomed across France, and senior members of the team, like Kylian Mbappe and Paul Pogba, endorsed the striker's return. He played a starring role at the Euros for France, scoring 3 goals on their way to a premature exit against Switzerland in the round of 16. After drawn-out legal proceedings, Benzema was finally sentenced in November 2021, handed a 1-year suspended prison sentence, as well as an $84,000 fine. In his remarks, the judge said that although Benzema was not aware of all the blackmail's details, he did take part in the scheme. Mustafa Zouaoui was handed a sentence of 2 years and 6 months as the mastermind of the operation. Axel Angot, who first got hold of the sex tape in 2014, was jailed for a total of 2 years. Younes Hawass received a suspended 18-month sentence. And finally, Benzema's friend, Zenati, was jailed for 15 months, bringing the trial and case to a close. As for Valbuena, he never got to enjoy the privilege of returning to the French squad, with his last appearance coming in 2015, and his biggest fear, which he tried so hard to avoid, missing out on Euro 2016, became a reality. But according to the player's lawyer, Didier Domat, the sentencing of Benzema and the other accomplices was a welcome development for Valbuena, recognizing his status as a victim and offering him closure. That's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, Don't forget to like and subscribe, and as always, let us know your thoughts in the comments. Till next time.